Last Supper Secret
Greetings, TikTok
Exposed.
viewers. So let's talk about the Last Supper real quick, because believe it or not, the Last Supper does not only date to the Bible. The Egyptians talked about the Last Supper, but I learned something involving the Last Supper, because you know Jesus during the Last Supper, he ate what? Bread and wine. Well, they reference that in the Egyptian book, and I'm going to break down what that really means. So let's start right there. Now, the Egyptian book that I'm referencing is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is basically the African Bible, the Kemet version of the Bible. It's their version of the Bible. It's just an Egyptian point of view. So the characters are different, but the ultimate story is kind of similar. So with that being said, let's talk about it. Now, during the Last Suppers, because I told you when Osiris died, they had the same ritual with bread and wine, and that is metaphorical. You see, the bread, to make bread, it starts off as dough. So let's start there. You see, the dough can spoil. It represents the mortal body. It's the body that we have right now that it's going to die eventually. The bread that they used back then in the Egyptian days was called Emmer's bread. And this bread had a very long lifespan, especially back then. It could last up for years without spoiling. And the bread that they used in Jesus's Last Supper, it was a very similar type of bread. But that's what that represents. You see, the dough represents the body that is going to die. It's inevitable. You're going to die. But the bread is the immortal body. That is the body that when you resurrect, if you reach the Christ, is what they call it, because there's a word in Egyptian that is Christ as well. If you reach the Christ, you will inherit the immortal body, which is the bread. And the wine is the same way. That's why Jesus turned water into wine. You see, if you leave water sitting, what happens? It gets moldy, it gets nasty, and you can't drink it. It's like the vital energy that runs through all of us. We get consumed with lust, greed, envy, pride, and then that contaminates the spiritual water that's inside of us. But what happens when you leave wine sitting? It gets better with age. That is the immortal waters. When you reach the Christ, that is the immortal spirit, also known as the Holy Spirit, that inhabits your temple. And that's what that means. Don't let them make you think it is a physical piece of bread and wine. Yes, they did bury mummies with that because it was symbolic, but it does not mean if I eat this bread and I drink this wine, I'm saved. It don't mean that at all. Peace.